Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Star Citizen FM, episode 13. My name is Dr. Hawk, and I will be your host for today. I'm going to have to apologize for another lackluster episode, as it's a slow news week, and the CIG crew is at GDC. So there's not going to be a lot to go over. The biggest highlight of interest in terms of Wingman's hangar would be that we actually have the guest appearance of the lamp. So for all you crazy lamp followers, you can go watch the lamp. I honestly, we miss you, Eric. Come on, we need you back right now, please. No, anyone that's interested, you can check out Wingman's Hangar episode 14. It's more of a sort of recap as to some of the best little bits for Wingman's Hangar. There's a few little tidbits there, but not much that I can actually really go on to report on. So the focus of this episode is going to be some comlink highlights. In the future, I'm actually going to try to reference this more, just because there is stuff I tend to miss. And recapping Wingman's Hangar only is not a reliable means of giving news to you guys. As well, I'm also going to be doing a few fan spotlights that I've noticed. NetAndy, if any of you are familiar with him on the forum, I'm going to be talking about a little sort of back that he has going for anyone that needs information, as well as maybe doing a clan spotlight or two, recap some news, and then later after the show I'll be pointing you guys in a direction of a Let's Play that I have planned with Zane, Lucifer, and possibly Precise Caliber. So to start off with, I'm actually just going to recap some of the news that I saw. There were several interesting articles that appeared in the comlink, one of them being the engineering, ship component systems. I'm actually going to read through that word by word for anybody that did not get a chance to read it or thought too long didn't read. So you'll get to listen to my boring voice instead and hear the too long didn't read version. In a whole, we had the jump point released for those of you that are backers. There's also a fan spotlight for a fan soundtrack, which I'd actually like to point you guys to, as well as a dispatch update. So, just out of interest for the fact that I like sound, I'm going to start with the fan spotlight. Cade and L, along with a few other artists that I'm aware of, have been working on an unofficial soundtrack for Star Citizen. The transcript reads, "What if I told you we were making a Star Citizen soundtrack to rival any upcoming official one?" You'd probably say, "You must be out of your mind," or "Yeah, good luck with that, buddy." That sort of reaction would be common. After all, there wouldn't be many people, if any, who have the ability to match the production level of a master professional who has many years of experience making music for media and video games. There's no chance that composers such as Michael McCain, Jesper Kidd, or Jeremy Schul could be matched skill-wise by no-name artists, right? Well, I'll let you listen to the music for yourself. I actually suggest you do this. I suggest you guys keep further watch on that guy's work, as well as his fellow artists. Really looking forward to the release of the unofficial Star Citizen soundtrack. The highlight of some of the other works that you can see in the comlink is Engineering the Hornet, Jump Point, as well as the Cloud Imperium site, corporate site. See, I have a hard time mentioning anything that's corporate. There you find information about CIG and content like job listings, etc. So if any of you are actually looking for a job, or maybe you'd like to just harass Sandy, actually no, don't harass Sandy. If you do, we'll find you and we'll kill you. But if you'd like to check that out, you can check out their corporate page, which isn't so much directed towards the fans, but fellow industry members. Actually, I should probably touch on the point of the engineering document, as it's pretty much the most meatiest thing I've read so far, and gives some good highlight as to what we can expect in Star Citizen. So I will be reading this word for word, maybe with a little humor or something of my own here or there, or how I might interpret something. So this is pretty much, aside from comments that I will clarify that are my own, all from CIG themselves, and as far as we can know, we can take it as fact. So, the highlight: engineering, ship components, systems. Ships are the heart of Star Citizen, and your personal ship will be the heart of your Star Citizen experience. It'll be your home, your mode of transportation, your line of defense against pirates, Vanguard raiders, and the dangers of vacuum itself. And what's more, it'll be an expression of your personal style and gameplay preferences. Every sci-fi fan has dreamt about customizing their own Millennium Falcon or manning the stations of their own bridge on the USS Enterprise, blasting off onto adventures in space against evil empires and mysterious aliens. These fantasies are at the heart of our ship customization system. When you build a ship, we want you to feel like that ship is yours, and that it's not just a carbon copy of every other Aurora or Freelancer that you encounter. You will have a sense of pride when you pilot your craft, knowing that while there may be many like it, and this one is this one is your own, unique in the universe. I like how that's sort of a play on "this is my rifle." There are many like it, but this one is mine. I believe that's the United States Navy's. I'll need to be corrected on that later. However, continuing, to accomplish this, we've spent a lot of time drilling down from the initial ship document that we released during the crowdfunding campaign. We've been working out what makes up a ship, how ships can be upgraded, and how they balanced against each other. There's still a lot of work to do, but we're enough along that we wanted to give you a glimpse on how these systems work. Combat in Star-Citizen is fast-paced and dependent on player skill. There is no auto-attack or random dice rolling, and pilots will not be able to buy their way into victory, which is something I am happy to hear. More on that later. One of the most important rules to remember is that the most expensive parts may not be the right tool for the job, and that even the most decked-out ship can be bested by a skilled pilot in a lesser craft. Our job was to create a system that honored this promise, one where upgrades meant building a ship that speaks to your personal preferences rather than one that simply acknowledged all-around best option. I don't know about you guys, but already I am greatly impressed by what I've read. I read this previously, but this is one point I wanted to talk about, where they bring up that there's no one acknowledged all-around best option. This is actually known as a cookie-cutter build, or actually no, I'll stick with that, cookie-cutter builds. You can see these commonly in MMOs, shooters, etc. An MMO would be, a recommended tank setup. You need this skill to do this or this or this because everyone seems to think it's the best. You might get flacked if I want to wield a greatsword while tanking. Yes, that sounds stupid in some contexts, but we're trying to cater to play styles, not what everybody else wants to do. In games like Call of Duty or Battlefield, it could be one weapon that seemed more better than the other, so for example running around with SMGs. I don't want to see Star Citizen running with everybody running around in Hornets, or 300 eyes, or whatever, just because everyone seems to think that's the best thing. So the fact that they're acknowledging this already is something that we should take as a godsend. So props to you guys at CIG, if you're thinking about that issue beforehand. Continuing on, however, what we decided was that this style of play demands a different approach to items. You won't necessarily find that level 2 laser cannons are objectively better than level 1 laser cannons. In fact, you won't find the word level anywhere in the game, except maybe next to an elevator shaft. One of the benefits to this is that there is absolutely no level scaling. All the items in the game are in there for a reason. They fill a role and accomplish a specific task. In many ways, our equipment system is a lot more in common with legendary tabletop battle simulations than it is with modern fantasy MMOs. That's not to say every laser cannon is the same, or every neutron gun is equivalent. There's going to be different grades of equipment. As in real life, some companies will provide very basic weapons very cheaply, while others will provide expertly designed and constructed versions that are harder to come by. You make the choice between the affordable, readily available space-smart laser that may break down more, generate more heat, and be less efficient, or the hard construction, German-engineered version from a master weapons builder that will set you back a stack of credits in return for an especially reliable, efficient gun. And you don't even want to know how the laser cannons built by Joker could end up working. What this all boils down to is that at its core, ship modification is a game of resource management where players will juggle space requirements, power consumption, heat load, signature, mass, CPU resources, durability, and the cost and availability of parts. We've created a system that allows you to manage all these individual pieces in intricate detail, but also build a unified whole that will behave the way you want it to without micromanagement during actual combat. I will address some of these later, but I'm going to keep going because they do start to break it down in whole. We should also note that it is our intention to make all of this optional. The great challenge of game design is building something that is easy to pick up, but difficult to master. You never need to drill down this deep to enjoy Star Citizen. If you're itching to get out there and fight, or explore, or trade, grab a factory model, add the few parts that you absolutely need, and head for the stars. However, if you'd rather control every aspect of your ship's functions, tweak every element of its performance until it's just right for you, then we're giving you that option here. As with everything else in Star Citizen, choice is the watchword. You play how you want, and we'll just supply the tools. We believe that many of our users will be interested in the system since so many of you build and tweak your own PCs, and doing the same for your starships feel like the natural next step. Wow, doesn't that get some of you hard? And why shouldn't it? Being a former MechWarrior fan, and not even former, still am living and breathing MechWarrior fan, I've always been a huge fan of tweaking, modifying, pulling out weapons, putting this in, there's that choice that they're giving us, which I'm very interested in. And even in an age where Call of Duty's and there's lots of loadouts and lots of this and that and this, the problem is it's homogenized. It's catered to everyone. Every person could do it. Every person can figure it out. But there's no challenge to it. In this game, Star Citizen, I like the appeal of you will have to min-max your ship if you want to min-max it. You can grab a factory ship if you don't feel like doing that. This sounds like it caters to those people that, there's so many different playstyles, I can't even sum it up. So this is something that I think a lot of us have been looking forward to, and both clarifies a lot of issues and a lot of worries. And I'm not even done. So let's move on to what makes up a ship. What makes up a ship? And by the way, this is where some of you might get pretty interested. If you're like me, you'll get pretty excited just by the complexity and the parts and the Lego aspect of this. What makes up a ship? Here's a look at some of the hardpoints and equipment that make up the ships of Star Citizen. Hull. Hull is where you can mount additional armor for protection, reduce your mass for better handling, or modify your cross-section to limit your radar signature. Power plant. Power plants supply the power that the rest of your ship will consume. It's the foundation on which all other systems function. Avionics. If the power plant is the heart of your ship, the avionics are the brain. Avionics calculate the advanced math required for the maneuvering thrusters, track and identify targets, and automatically route power and ensure functional life support. It is unique among systems in that it can also be upgraded with additional systems like ITTS, better turret AI, and a myriad of other options. Afterburners. Afterburners give it a significant boost to thrust at the cost of expelling fuel inefficiently. Shield generators. Protect the ship from spaceborne debris and hostile fire. Generators come in multiple sizes and also have varying levels of segmentation. Single bubble, front and back, quadrant, etc. Intake allows you to scoop free hydrogen in the vacuum of space or in the extreme upper atmosphere of gas giants to refill your working mass tank. Fuel tank. The fuel tanks deliver mass in the form of hydrogen to the power plant, which in turn delivers energy to supercharge the fuel and expel it at speed. If you run out far from civilized space, you better hope you have AAA. Your computer will warn you, however, when you reach bingo fuel, the point of no return after which you will not be able to reach a friendly base. Maneuvering thrusters. Maneuvering thrusters are small thrusters that provide the majority of the pitch, roll, and yaw control, as well as correcting the ship's velocity vector to be in the direction it's pointing, if the IFCS is on. These can either be fixed in place or have varying methods of articulation to improve control response. Main thrusters. These provide the bulk of the forward thrust of the ship. Like maneuvering thrusters, these can be also fixed in place or have thrust vectoring assist with directional control of the aircraft. Articulated thrusters require more robust avionics. There's also a miscellaneous slot, weapon batteries to assist the recharge function of energy weapons, ammo racks to store more ballistic ammunition. As a quick comment, good. I want my miniguns. Additional cooling systems to purge heat load, devices to hide your cargo. The list goes on and on. Class 1 weapon, forward fixed weapons that can mount larger weapon systems. Class 2 weapon, gimbal mounted weapons that have limited pivot in a fixed direction. The increased cone of fire comes at the cost of smaller weapon size. Class 3 hardpoint. Class 3 hardpoints can mount a variety of underbelly gear such as missile racks or extra fuel tanks. Class 4 hardpoint. Generally used to mount turrets. Some ships can also use these hardpoints for increased cargo space or other ship systems. Well, now that I've put some of you to sleep, let's go over some of this. Previously, we worried about a few things. The major point that I initially took from this was fuel. I like the concept of getting stranded. The fact that in a game, for once, we do not have a ship that runs on a 1,000-year nuclear battery and that you can't just go anywhere. This is fun because this could make it easier for the developers to try to hide things from us. Maybe here's a system over here that, once you pass the point of no return, you're kind of effed, but if you find some fuel, who knows, it could yield an abundant amount of treasure and hookers and blow. I don't exactly know if that's the route they'd be going, but it'd be interesting to see. Segmented shield generators is another interesting thing. This has been both done in space games with Chris Roberts and another thing, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. It's a very common thing to go with. I'll be honest, my simple mind prefers the single bubble just so I don't have to worry about it, but a hawk can learn new tricks, I suppose. Afterburners, avionics, these are all points I could drone on about, but the main point I really found interesting the most here was fuel. And some of the clans that I know have already set up, and I think I've spotlighted, correct me if I'm wrong, their rescue, research, and refill operations. I think you guys will be making a profit, so get to work on pre-planning because you're going to have a lot of lost pilots. Like I said before, if I'm putting some of you to sleep, just listen to the cool sound of my voice. Think of somewhere in space where you're floating, stranded, no oxygen, no food, and no way home. That should be plenty comforting for you. On to resource management. Space. We're not talking about stars here. We're looking at the space your ship has for upgrades. In this sense, space comes in two flavors. First, the ship must have appropriate hardpoint for an item. Second, that hardpoint must have the capacity for that item. Larger items generally add more mass to the ship than smaller items, and that will impact your performance in certain ways. I should have a picture showing in relation to the space that I'm talking about, so take a quick peek at that, and you may notice a few interesting things. One, that it's actually made with... Never mind, that's irrelevant. But take a quick look and gather some information, because I am trying to move along, because I've already taken a few minutes on just talking about this. Power and heat load. Power plants are the beating heart of a ship. Without power, the ship, and likely the pilot, is dead in space. Power is a premium, and pilots will find that they never seem to have enough go around. With this in mind, will you opt to use your available power to install a more powerful weapon, or will you use it to power a larger set of thrusters? Consuming power also generates heat that must be dispersed from a ship, much like modern high-performance PC. If the ship can't cool itself, it begins to damage its components. Wise pilots will install more cooling than the minimum provided by the hull to handle unforeseen heat spikes like those that might occur in battle or because of damaged components. Another interesting comment I wanted to point out, anybody that's played MechWarrior is well familiar with this concept of heat. Weapons commonly heat up in that game, and the more heat sinks you have, the better you are able to deal with massive heat spikes. Depending on the grade of weapon, you either have little heat, and you can fire all day, or you have 6 PPCs, and one shot is enough to cook you in your cockpit. And I have seen people do this, and it is hilarious. It's cool when it works, funny when I watch them explode. I'm wondering if they'd approach the same system, you know, have a heat meter. Like, this is kind of me hoping for some MechWarrior components. But, you know, a heat meter, maybe even a shutdown, you know, actually your ship shuts down in space and you just start, you know, floating off into a direction. If you're in combat, well, the guys go, oh, hey, perfectly moving straight to target. I'll just stitch him with my autocannon because he overheated. Be an interesting component to see. Next we have signature. All ships generate an electromagnetic signature and reflect electromagnetic waves, say that 5 times fast, focused in their direction. These signatures are used by the avionics system to identify and track targets within its operational range. Power-hungry ships will generate a much stronger EM signature while ships with minimal consumption may slip by unnoticed. Large ships reflect more radar waves back to active scanning units by virtue of their cross-sections. These signatures can also be used by guided weapons to lock and navigate to their target. Signature is the primary concern for players wishing to maximize their stealth or avoid missile lock. Mass. Mass is an important factor in determining the speed and maneuverability of your ship. As your mass goes up, your ability to rapidly change direction goes down. This stat is the primary concern for pilots who wish to maximize their speed and maneuverability. CPU. Running the components of the ship requires advanced circuitry and highly specialized software, all of which are grouped together under the ship's avionics system. These packages offer more robust target identification, increased radar range, ITTS, which I have no idea what it is, and I will tell you guys when I know, and many other functions. In addition, other ship systems require data resources for proper operation. Examples include operation of the gimbal-mounted Class 2 weapons and the AI systems for unmanned turrets. And here's my favorite part. Some of you may know how much I like to tank. Durability. How resilient a part is to damage will be of prime importance to pilots who expect to operate in hostile conditions. A high-output power plant is useless if it stops working with only minimal wear, or succumbs to the first laser bolt that finds its way through the shields to the hull. Cost and availability. Every part in the game has a cost in credits that must be paid to purchase it, but just having the money isn't enough. Not all parts are available everywhere, and even the locations that normally sell certain items can be out of stock if the supply chain to the factory has been disrupted. Players will need to travel far and wide to locate all the parts they wish to install. Performance tuning. Tinkering with your ship is of huge interest to many people. We see this as the real world. There are huge communities around PC overclocking and in hobbyist automotive tuning on the weekends. People just like knowing that they've squeezed every last drop of performance out of their gear. We'll know you want to push your ship to the limit, or maybe just barely past it. So we're including systems to let you try. Parts are manufactured within tolerances, and while every part that rolls off the line will function precisely to its rated value, its true capability can be discovered by players willing to risk the consequences of failure. Pushing hardware past its rated specifications can have disastrous results, though, and even I'm having a bit of tongue twister, so I apologize. And even successfully tuned parts will likely be more power hungry and generate a larger signature. What you're doing is overclocking your weapons and modules, just like dedicated PC enthusiasts do to their CPUs. When Intel builds a chip, it often, but not always, has the capacity for higher clock speed, and people who want to push their rigs to the limit will manually tweak their CPUs higher and higher. Those tolerances aren't known though. Sometimes a laser might get a 10% boost, rarer a 20% boost. At other times you might cause your overclock gun to generate excessive heat, or even damage itself. We anticipate some players will make a living overclocking upgrades and selling them to others at a premium. It's our equivalent of an MMO crafting system without the artificial leveling mechanic taking you out of the game. I'm going to pause here and elaborate on some of this because I find it highly interesting. Right away, this should put a lot of you to ease. Some of you I know, and I've been reading in the forums, are highly worried about the MMO approach that the game is taking as opposed to the flight simulator that was pitched during the Kickstarter. I don't think Chris Roberts and the crew are stupid. They're not. They're smart. They know what they're doing. That last thing that I just mentioned, the MMO crafting system without the artificial leveling mechanic. Right away, that for me is justification enough of what they're doing. I, myself, in MMOs, I get distracted easily. I have a hard time paying attention. I find that if I have to grind for 5 frickin' hours for one little thing, I'd go punch a child. I'm sorry, but it's so frustrating for me because I can't pay attention to that. The only way that's kept me doing that is if I know I actually want that. You know, MechWarrior Online, I don't mind grinding. I want that Atlas. That's maybe an exception. Star-Citizen, if we don't have to grind in the sense of just do some, like, make 500 rubber knives because you have to make iron knives, then great. This gives people a system who want to learn the game. They want to learn the limits. They want to figure it out. I remember back in Star Wars, the Old Republic, I know not a lot of people liked it. I was looking forward to it being awesome, only to find it WoW in space. I remember started a forum group just for people dedicated for finding out the crystals in the game. You know, people wanted colors for their lightsaber crystals. Next thing you know, we had flowcharts, we had Excel graphs. People just went nuts. And all this was me. I'm just like, hey, we should start something. And this is that kind of thing. You know, the game might come out and people will be like, oh, cool, you know, I tweaked a laser. And then, you know, 5 months later, here comes Pleasure saying, hey, look, I managed to make a laser that shoots, I don't know, unicorns. That are, you know, exaggerating the point, but you get the point. This is something that to be desired, and something that I'm really looking forward to. To get back on topic, however, we now have item quality. Item quality. Just like there are a myriad of 45 handgun producers in the world, there are many companies that produce equivalent items in the Star Citizen universe. Not all gear is created equal, however. Some manufacturers are known for mass-producing cheap gear for pilots on a budget, or for arms dealers supplying in localized conflicts. As a rule, cheap gear is generally less efficient, less durable, and prone to overheating, but has the advantage of being extremely inexpensive and highly available. The better manufacturers produce more efficient and reliable gear at a premium, with the best components being reserved for UEE citizens and military, or aboard yet to be discovered alien derelicts at the fringes of the galaxy. To those of you who've been wondering if we'll find derelicts, I think your answer's right there, my friends. Some players can just pick up a laser and start shooting, while others will spend days on a quest for the perfect laser. I'm raising my hand here, by the way, for how they want to work their ship. Let's say you're interested in turning your Hornet into a stealth ship. You're going to buy the lowest emission modules wherever possible, thinner shields that don't have much an energy signature, lasers that do less damage but generate less heat, thrusters that don't accelerate as quickly but keep you better hidden, and then you can go increasing extremes that involve more and more gameplay. Maybe you hear that a company on Terra has a low emission laser that does more damage that you need to hunt down. Or a pirate group on Spider has illegally hacked shields that add a little protection without giving out a higher signature. You'll travel the galaxy building the perfect ship, rather than sitting in one hangar to put it together. A quick pause. While I did say I don't like grinding, I don't mind scavenging. There's a difference between doing a monotonous task over and over and over and over and over again, and actually doing something interesting. If you have to look and find things, that's fun. Games I found have done this well in the past. Any of the Stalker games, or Metro 2033, a really good scavenging game. You know, the fact that you'd have to look around and find stuff. Even the recent DayZ mod. I know it's rocky, has its own glitches, but I still come back to love it, just because you have to scavenge and look for stuff. And there's always the random chance, you never know. Okay, maybe I have a 50 cal one day, now I have a hunting rifle. Tough shit, but it's fun. It's not the same thing over and over, or at least in my eyes, because I know some people say, well, you're still grinding in a way. Apples and oranges, I guess. The next topic, testing your equipment. An important part of this system is that it's not a rote recipe system. You don't find the specifications for your perfect laser and work at it until you're there. As with PC overclocking or tuning a car, there's always an element of chance. The tweak may fail and leave you with a module in need of repair, and you don't want to find that out when you're nose to nose with a pack of pirates. To counteract this, we plan to add an optional suite of testing burn-in equipment to your hangars, and some extra goodies in your avionics to track performance. Spending a little time and a few credits to run your newly overclocked shields or maxed out cannons on the ground could end up saving your skin later in space. Legality. The UEE Advocacy is part police force and part Coast Guard, and is tasked with enforcing the safety of pilots within UEE space. To accomplish this, they regularly scan ships for contraband or illegal components. Many of the best ship parts are strictly limited to citizens of the UEE, and others are completely forbidden. Pilots who choose to flout the rules in UEE space will be fined and have their contraband confiscated, or the possibility of being engaged by the advocacy in the pursuit of their duties. Difficult word for myself. And lastly, and now some of you can wake up, we have pipes. So that's all great, but how do parts work together? We accomplish this with various pipes, in parentheses, connecting the systems together. The power pipe supplies each device with power, while the data pipe transmits data between components. For example, the shield generator sends data out the data pipe so the shield level can be displayed on the HUD. Pipes can be disrupted with varying repercussions. We want emergent gameplay to happen in your ship, not just in the larger game world, and a fully interconnected system of ship components allows us to make it happen. I should have an example of what they showed here showing for you guys, so all this detail and flexibility is great if you're into it, but what if you just want to strap in and blast off without worrying about how deep the customization system goes? No problem. Customization will allow you to specialize your ship, but you'll still be able to enjoy the game without tweaking all the nuts and bolts. Not everyone geeks out on the specifics. Some just want to have fun blasting aliens and pirates from the cockpits of their space fighters. We'll be definitely catering to that playstyle as well. We're very excited about the direction of the ship upgrade system, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned for the coming months for more details. And big breath of relief. So, all in all, that is a good 20-30 minute article on what we can expect from Star-Citizen. I did introduce my own little comments and snippets, but generally, for those of you that didn't get a chance to read it, whoever's Skyping me, I will smash with a hammer. If any of you haven't had a chance to read this or record it, or in any way cover it in your own shows, I highly suggest you do this. Spread the word. Put some of those worries that people are having about the game, because as this shows, or at least to me, this game is shaping up to be a game that I will definitely want to play. Now that I've got that giant article out of the way, the other thing I wanted to address was a recent forum post that I was made aware of. You guys have to remember, sometimes I have severe ADHD. Recent forum post from NetAndy, one of our bigger community members with 2,500 posts. I have no idea how somebody is on a forum that much, but given what he's assembled for some of the fans, and some of you may be new or have questions, there should be a link shown, as well as in the description, to his NetAndy-s-Guide-to-Star-Citizen, aka summary of lore, interviews, and everything. I don't know what he classifies as everything, because when I think of everything, I think of everything. In this summary you can find an index of useful links, comm links, pretty much anything that has been Star-Citizen related. Even chat roll is in there, so if you missed a chat roll dev session, go there. As far as I know, he's always updating it and always keeping it nice and organized with pretty colors, and even some pictures here and there. So if you'd like to check that out, go check it out, and maybe even give the guy a tip of the hat just for doing this. Because it's people like these that are appreciated by people like me who have very little in way of organizational skills and occasionally might need to look at for news. So NetAndy, thank you very much for your contributions to the community. Keep at it. We're proud of you. Good job. The final thing I had for my show was 2 clan spotlights, and a little disappointed. I thought maybe they get creative and they want me to, I guess, sort of relate as to what they are. The first clan spotlight is Privateer Crux Association, and they're pirates. Raping, pillaging, thieving, anything. Go check out Privateer Crux Association if you're looking for rape. It's pretty much what I gather from the description here, is that that's pretty much the focus of Privateer Crux Association. So if that seems to be something you're interested in, go give them a ring. If you're looking for a more community-orientated guild, or clan, don't really have a specific word yet until the game comes out, check out Black Widow Company. Actually a active-duty military formed clan from what I can gather, I believe. So they're more focused on beating the pirates up, killing the pirates, stomping the pirates, anything that would involve not what Privateer would be doing. You can look forward to a community-driven group of individuals. They also work with Systems United Navy. Where is the other ones that I have mentioned here? Should be in my notes. Systems United Navy, Blue Horizon Trading Group, Imperium. So, some pretty big names there. So if you want to be in a big old fun group, they've actually formed an alliance as far as I know. Powers Against Common Threats, also known as PACT. So check out the Black Widow Company if you're looking towards pirate stomping. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, I sadly do not have an interview or anything interesting. Everyone's at GDC or having fun, or if you're looking at your date today, you'll notice it's Easter, and I actually have to get going to family stuff. So this has been pretty hectic, but at the same time to be understood, given with GDC as well as now Easter. So either if you believe in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, or that a magical bunny goes around leaving eggs for you, whatever you celebrate, I happily congratulate and wish you the happy blank holiday that you celebrate. So, with the announcement I did want to make, I have decided I will be doing a Let's Play. The game of choice is Guns of Icarus Online. I'll be playing it with Zane, Lucifer, and I believe Precise Caliber, or anybody else that wants to join. I've also taken your guys' recommendations for Let's Play, being, Wing Commander, Privateer, etc. I will have to find a way to, play those, and I'd prefer to buy them. So if you people know any way where I could get a copy of that, or just find it, or if even it's freeware now, that would be great, because I would gladly go through those. As well as I'm looking into investing in, well, if I am investing with my situation, investing into something a little more suitable for gaming, so that way you don't have to watch my 12 FPS a minute video card. So if you're interested in watching these future Let's Plays, though, don't worry, they won't be that horrible. They will be posted on my channel, not on Star Citizen Community, as Star Citizen Community is Star Citizen Base, and a Let's Play that I'm be doing would not be in relation to that channel. So any Let's Plays or anything of interest, or things that I find funny that are other gamers related, will always be on my channel. So check out the channel, subscribe. It's pretty much the same thing that you hear now. So, anyways, without further ado, I hope you guys all enjoyed the Let's Play when I do release it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I at least tried to make it somewhat interesting with the lack of content. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. And I wish you all a great weekend, great Easter. You guys all take care and fly safe.